Welcome everyone to today's webinar with the title From Dam to Automated Retail Content. And this is a webinar where we will zoom in on the integration between WoodWing Assets, our digital asset management system from WoodWing, and Relayter, a content automation platform made for retailers. And this is how you'll be able to understand the integration and, of course, how retailers can enable content automation at scale with the integration between a DAM and a content automation platform. Thank you for joining us today. I am Magdalena, and I will be guiding today's session. Before we begin, I would like to make sure that you know that this webinar is being recorded, and all the registrants and attendees, of course, will receive the recording after in a few days after this webinar airs. We'll have a dedicated Q&A session or part of this webinar, which is at the end. And I'd like to please ask you to feel free to ask any questions using the chat panel on your right side of this webinar platform to post any questions that you might have for our speakers. So I'm pleased to announce the speakers to today's webinar. It is a great pleasure to introduce Paul Walker, one of my dear colleagues at WoodWing. He's our product development manager. He'll be showcasing a little bit about how WoodWing Assets fits in the whole retail content automation sequence. Then we have two guest speakers from Relayter, Quincy Seymour, who is an operations director at Relayter, and Ryan Potter, who is the customer success manager at Relayter. Quincy will talk in details about the challenges they see in the market, especially in retail marketing teams dealing with content production. And Ryan will actually showcase the integration between WoodWing Assets and Relayter with a nice example. At the end, we will have a few minutes to discuss and showcase a use case from an actual customer of Relayter and WoodWing Assets. And the agenda you can see on the slides is first with the retail content production today. So the zoom in of the challenges that I mentioned that retail marketing teams are facing. Then from assets to automation, this is where my colleague Paul will zoom in on this topic, and how the integration works in practice is going to be showcased by Ryan. So without further ado, I'd like to ask our guest speaker, Quincy, to come on this virtual stage and speak about more about what he sees in the market, in the retail market. Hello, Quincy. Thank you for joining.
Hello. Thank you for introducing me. So, before we dive into any technical stuff and systems, we would like to talk about how retail marketing has been changing over time. What we see is retailers deal with more promotions, more channels, endless deadlines, and even more personalized and variant content. Meanwhile, clients expect faster delivery, relevant offers, and also a more localized and personalized experience. But what we do see is that marketing teams are still working in manual workflows, spreadsheets hooked up together, and fragmented systems. And this means chaos starts really quickly because one single campaign can lead into hundreds of different assets. Then the challenge would not even be producing all those assets, but the real challenge starts when prices change, when products become unavailable, and when things get updated along the way. And then suddenly teams are updating everywhere manually. The hidden problem behind this is disconnected data. The problem is not that retailers lack data, but the data is not connected. So product data lives somewhere, images are stored in another place, and promotions are measured separately. This means there's a lot of copy and pasting and duplicate work and a lot of error-prone processes. Is this something you might find sound familiar? Is this the final version you're working on? Um, this is also one of the things which happens because of omni-channel productions. Omni-channel production sounds great because you have your specialists on every channel, but it's also creating misalignment and duplicated feedback loops, um, which is a real pity because we work on the same campaigns, the same promotions, but we don't work together. All of this combined will just make the teams who have to produce more and faster, um, but budgets stay the same. The real pressure is increasing, and this happens for the teams on the marketing side, which increases stress, productions, but also slows down your campaigns, and the creativity in the work disappears. Um, so now it's time for me to have Paul join me to um, give more insights on how WoodWing, in combination with Relayter, to address one of those issues.
Thank you, Quincy. So, first of all, let's look at what's the value of DAM. So there's a few key things that whenever you're kind of considering a DAM and looking at a DAM, we've got 5 main points. And we're going to be covering kind of each of these points from bringing everything together, making sure you've got structure, having collaboration, and then also making sure from a security, compliance, and reporting that you can do that at any point in time. And there's a hidden word in here that we will kind of come through several times, and this is at scale. So first of all, centralizing your digital asset management, one DAM for all. It's bringing your entire organization into one space, making sure that it's secure, resistant to hacking. We've all read various stories on that. And there's an ever-changing need within kind of creatives. So first of all, it might have just been JPEGs. And then in design, different Adobe formats come along. And then someone says, hey, can you do 3D? So the key thing about DAM is bringing together all of your material, from text, from images to video, and having it together in a way that you can relate it together. You can package it and using metadata, then present that to things like Relayter. So this helps your creatives within a work in progress. Now, some people might use a DAM as a final resting place. One of the things we encourage is actually a working place for your assets. And one of the key things it starts with is your external content providers. Now, we work with some retailers where they're working with other brands and ingesting tens of thousands of assets a day from these other brands that are already prepared, but prepared in those brands' mechanisms. And the first thing is getting them into your system where your teams can work, and having it kind of seamlessly work for your creative teams as they take the materials, use the tools. So for example, having processes where not only can you use Adobe, but you might also want to use other tools, automated tools, AI tools, to help prepare and crop your material, to help prepare the color balancing and making sure that the images fit your house style. And that's kind of important. So this is where DAM, as you bring everything together, you can curate that material and make it your own for you to then take through your workflows. So then moving on, this is where the real-time kind of automation at scale. And this is a key thing. As Quincy was already suggesting, there are more workflows, more requirements and needs based on the teams to make sure that they can produce things ever quicker, faster, to different channels. And in doing so, do this in shorter time to market. So we are a API first system. And that's a kind of a key thing, making sure that whether you want to bring an MCP in or whether you want to just bring your third-party tools in, that you can access the DAM via API. Rule-based workflows. Now, it doesn't matter, anybody can create a workflow, but we know things change. And then again, the retail market, it's ever evolving and it needs to move swiftly to keep up with everybody else or lead the charge. And this is part of the way in which DAM can help you break away from everybody else and lead, take new ideas, and then use rules and workflows to be able to take your material. As I was kind of hinting earlier, we work with some retail clients who they're ingesting 40, 50,000 assets per day, every day. You can't do that by hand. There are some that you will cherry pick and curate yourself, but you need to, again, use these kind of automated workflows to slice and dice, present, still keep human in the loop to make sure that you can sanity check what you're doing. And again, we'll be seeing a little bit later how Relayter can kind of do this in the kind of the print space, taking the curated material that's being done on DAM and then producing this to the kind of Relayter that then slices and dices it and pushes it in its own channels. And then real-time updates. Quite often we've seen people siloed. Now, some retailers span across the world, some across a country, some across a small territory. But whatever it is, these days, you have a disparate workforce. Quite often, they're not all in the same workspace. So having something that can keep up with the change, as a creative makes an asset ready, marketing person can then see that or be informed and pick that up, keeping that process moving, keeping the time to market ever shorter. And in doing so, being able to do this helps reduce the costs of producing this material. So, and this is the next thing where this becomes really important. Having all your assets in one place is no good unless you have structured data. And data can come from several areas. So WoodWing Assets, we hook into various PIMs. There's quite a selection of different PIMs. We'll go into names that we can hook into. But again, because it's API first, if there is another PIM that we don't hook into, it's very easy to hook into it. But this then enables you that you have that single hook, and it could be product code. You bring in a group of assets to do with the product code. You lace it with the product code. Could be manually, could be image recognition that does this. But that hook then gives you a chance to reach into your other data pots that structure another backbone of your kind of retail business that provide the continuity through the entire workflow of this is exactly what it is. This is where we're selling it. This is what we're using it for. And then we can bring in or reference to PIM data that offers structure. And this is the key thing that will then use as a platform for Relayter to then come in and pick up your images, pick up your data, and then being able to do the great things that they can then do with your content. So let's move on. And then the impact of DAM. So here's the kind of the key takeaways of what we want to use DAM for. It's a single source of truth, somewhere where your entire business can come to, and they're not second guessing. Is this the version of assets that I should be using? Because WoodWing Assets, we version. So you can have all of the different versions, and as the creatives are going through and reworking the assets, you have that singular source of truth for that asset, for that product that as a business you can go to and you can depend on. Having faster access to the content. There are some clients we've helped their challenge where their previous systems, it might have been days for the cycle to go through with someone's requesting content and they finally get the content, and opportunities missed that kind of stick where the business just can't move because it can't access the content fast enough. And this is where giving everybody access, and something I haven't kind of got into, is using permissions to make sure that the marketing team can only see final assets, but everybody's working in that single source of truth to make sure that the right assets are revealed to the right people at the right time, and we remove as many blockers as possible for that. And then reduce duplication. There are some clients we've worked with where they were global. They had 143 offices around the world. And we found that across their estate of many million assets, there was an incredible amount of duplication, almost as much as 20% duplication in work. And then because of the single source, faster access, people can actually surface and find, so actually, I don't need this because I can see another team's working on this. This is great. I can use that material. And when it's ready, I can do the pieces that I need. So this is a big thing. And even if you do have a current estate of material, there are processes to dig in and help you find and go, well, we'll take all of your assets and we'll help you find the duplication, find the highest res image, find the ones that have been derivative works of, and then help coordinate the metadata across that. Excuse me. And above all, the ability to scale. Growth is a key part in all of this. Having a DAO, having a tool set, having an ecosystem that can grow with you as fast as you grow and as fast as you need to grow, and not being limited by that. So, using, for example, WoodWing. WoodWing is in the cloud, and it's a fully scalable solution. So as the storage requirements grow, as your needs for more content, more people on there, you're not hindered by hardware or software to do that. So what we're going to do now is we are going to hand over, and I'm going to hand over to Ryan. So Ryan, could you come back on? And he's going to give you a good demo so you can actually see all of this in action.
Yes. Thank you very much, Paul, for the handoff. Thank you for your presentation. Hello, guys. My name is Ryan Poser. I do customer success at Relayter. So I do a lot of the customer contacts with our clients, from all the way the onboarding to when we're live. So it's a bit about me. And I'll show you Relayter in a live demo. So in a broad sense, what exactly do we do as Relayter? Well, we automate content for any channel at scale. So what we do is we take all your different types of data, so your product data, promotions, assets, anything that you'd like to connect and put in your output for your promotional materials, like leaflets, posters, etc., etc. We take that, for example, WoodWing Assets, which we have the integration with, and we push it through our engine, and we create a lot of different materials, say videos, say posters and leaflets, stuff like that. And I would like to show you guys how the integration works exactly. So I'll share my screen. Here you go. So I go over to WoodWing, which we already put in like 3 images. And I'll show you how the integration works. So for example, I have this image of a KitKat, which I will upload, which I will use inside Relayter, and which I will use inside a promotional, promotional materials. So over here, we have our KitKat that I just uploaded, and I want to use that in Relayter. Well, how does that work exactly? I'll switch over to Relayter, which we have our overview over here. So here are all the assets that we have in our live environment. And I want to connect this asset and import it into Relayter. So we have this product, which is currently missing the front view of this product. And this product has this SKU, which we will copy, and we'll go back to WoodWing. And over here, we have this field SKU, and we paste it over here. And as soon as I did that, it will go over to Relayter. And here you go. The assets is imported immediately. And it also gets its own WoodWing asset ID, which means that, it is connected to WoodWing, which also means, oh, wait, let me share my screen. So I here, and as you can see, the KitKat is already imported, and it also has a WoodWing asset ID which means that it is linked. So if I remove the image from WoodWing, it will also be removed later. And not only is it imported, but it's also directly connected to that product. So now you can see this product has two images, the one that we did just now and the one that already had. And here you go. And now I will make this one primary, so that will be my main asset. So if I go back to our product overview, you see that the KitKat now has this image as the primary image, which we'll use in promotional content. So how does that work? You have your campaign overview, and in your campaign overview, you obviously have campaigns. So let's say we take this campaign from week 29, and as you can see, we already have a lot of different channels that we already set up. So we have leaflets, we have digital out of home, which can be a video, we have POS material, stuff like that. And all of these different channels are connected to a singular data set. So as I said, we take all your data, the images, the product information, everything we have. So we have the images over here, we have our product information over here, which are connected, and we put that in a briefing inside one of our campaigns. So I'll open a briefing. And what exactly is a briefing? Well, a briefing is basically just a big data sheet with all your different promotions. So let's say, for example, this Ben & Jerry's has a 26% off. We have a 2+1, X plus X free, stuff like that. And based on this data and on the rules that we set for the specific client, we can generate their content based on their own styling and their own rules. But we just added the KitKat image, and I see we have a KitKat promotion over here, and that promotion is about these three products. So we have Twinkies, we have Oreo, and the KitKat, and these products all have images. So if I go to the Assets tab, I can click this button, and it will show all the assets that are linked to these three products that we had over here. And now we only have these two assets connected, and well, we just added this one. And as you can see, now I added the asset that we just imported or synced actually from WoodWing. And I'll click Save. And now that asset is connected to this specific promotion. So what do we do from here? Now we have our data set all ready to go, but now we actually want to create some items, just like the ones here. I set up two empty publications, a leaflet and POS, so for example, or price cards, and we'll start with the leaflet. Well, in Relayter, you can either do everything manually, so you select the template that you want, and then you connect your items to that. But just for demo showcases and also for live showcases, it's just always better to set up something automated. So let's say, for example, I just want to set a default leaflet. Well, I create the leaflet. Yes, I want to run it. And here you go. So now I just created a couple of pages which aren't generated yet, but it's already set some pages for me, and it's already connected, or they already connected the specific promotions based on page number. So you can see all these in the data, all these promotions are supposed to be on page 1. So these are on page 1, these are on page 2, and I already set a default layout. So I put all these three items in just in a default way. And obviously this is not how it's supposed to be, because this is the front page. So we probably want one big promotion and two smaller ones. So I'll just drag and drop this over here, and I'll make this one bigger. And this is my layout now. And if I'm happy with my layout, I can push it through to design, and it will start generating, as you can see over here. And I can do the next one. Well, actually, this one's fine to me. Let's push it through. And this one also needs a little touch up. And just for you guys, just a heads up, the entire layout that you see. So this is a 2x12 grid, which I can be really flexible with. I can remove this. I can make this a little bit taller. And I'm like, yeah, okay, this is fine like this. But the entire grid It's just that we have now, but this can be a real one, several different grids if you want. This could be a really big with a really big grid that you can be really flexible in, and we can set it up all types of ways. So that's how it works right now. Yeah, so I'm happy with this layout. I want these to be like this. I want this to be like that. Make this a little bigger. Yeah, push that through to design. As you can see, one is already done generating. I want this to be a little bit wider, and this is the back page, so I'll make this one big, and then I'm like, yeah, I'm fine with this, and everything. So we go to this, and over here you can see the generated output. This is the layout that we made, a big promotion over here and two smaller there, and this is the layout. So we take the assets, we take the styling, and with combined rules, we can make the output, which is this, or one, so this one was the one I was already happy with, was like, yeah, just push it through. And after this, as soon as everything's generated, the design studio can go ahead and do their thing. So before this, the design studio didn't have to do anything, someone else can do the entire setup, they can do the planning. They're like, nah, I don't really like the layout. They can go back, change the layout a little bit, and they can push it through, for example. But after the design studio gets this, and they maybe enlarge the images, or they change the spacing on the text, for example, and when they are done, it also gets pushed through the next step, where a different team, or maybe the same team that does the layout planning, can do reviewing. So they're like, yeah, okay, I see this image, but it's not really the right size or whatever, or I can do, hey, please change this. I hope they will give a more comprehensive note than this, but let's say, hey, let's change this, and we can approve that sticky note, which means, yeah, the studio really has to do this. And as soon as all the sticky notes are in place, it goes back to design. The studio sees the sticky note. They're like, okay, I need to do this, but okay, I don't really get what to do. They can also, for example, ask someone for help. Hey, Quincy, what exactly, what do you mean? For example, they can comment, and they have a big thread over here, which they can communicate with. And let's say Quincy replied, and he says, hey, you need to change this, and then the studio is like, okay, we'll do that. Then it's done. And the status of the sticky note changes again, goes back to review. And the one who originally placed the sticky note is like, oh yeah, okay, now I can see that everything is changed. Yeah, okay, this is fine. And then, for example, the sticky note disappears. So that's the way we do reviewing in our platform. And obviously, these are only like 5 steps. If you have a really big team or different teams, we can have multiple steps. Everything is configurable. But that's just the way the design and reviewing works in a nutshell. Obviously, there's a lot more to go into, but due to time, we'll make it quick. And what's also really important for a lot of our clients is variant data. And what exactly is variant data? I only showed you the United Kingdom version just now, with the English text and the green background. But during all the generation steps, we also generate the different data variants. So this is the German one. So this is German text. And over here, it's the French text, which means that you can have one singular layout that you can make, and we generate different types of output with that for, let's say, different countries, different regions, and this could be for a leaflet, but maybe also for a poster, which makes it really powerful, because it is basically, if I go to the briefing, it's just basically one data set or one promotional rule, which has different nested values. So you can make one layout, for example, with different pricing, different whatever you need, and generate those items, and they'll get their own data, their own coloring, even their own styling, but you still have one data set which you can use for different countries or regions. So that's in a nutshell how we do the leaflet setup with the same data set. So that you saw just now, we can make multiple items. So I also want to show you real quick how to do the, for example, in-store materials. And let's do the UK version just so the text is all clear for everyone. And remember the KitKat promotion that we have. Let's say I take that one and I want to produce an A4, shelf marker, web banner, whatever I need. I'll go next, I'll go add and close, and I added 3 items to my overview. So I got a, let's see, got an A4, the barker, and the price label from that specific promotion. And I can push it through. I can push this one through also, and this one too. So now I will produce 3 different materials from that one single promotion because the data is the same on all. The only thing that's different is the layout, and obviously a price card looks like this, a poster looks like this, and an A4 looks different. And that's, let's say, for example, I take this one. Yeah, there you go. Oh, wait, my bad. I take this one. Yeah. Give me one sec. Yeah. And then I go to add automated, and I don't only want the items that are from this promotion, but I want, everything from everything, which I can also do. So with one push of a button, you can just say, hey, I want this price card. I want, oh, my bad. I want all POS content for all campaign items. So there you go. It added 52 items. You can see all the items over here. And I can even say I want to push everything through, or I don't want this specific item, or I just say, hey, take these 20 and I push them through the side. And with just one push of a button, I can generate all the items. So I have a price card, this and this. So that basically is, in a nutshell, what we do. Obviously, every single promotional material has their own workflow. They have their own teams working within them, and everything is configurable to support that. Yeah, so that's basically how we get the assets from WoodWing that we had over here, and we take those, push it through Relayter, and with our engine, you can generate your content at scale and also do the reviewing with the different type of teams. So it's a lot of information. I hope it's clear to everyone how we exactly produce the information. Due to time, this is all I can show you today. And from now, I'll give the stage back to Quincy and Paul.
Thank you, Ryan. That was a fantastic demo. It was really good to see, how quick and easy it is to do, and the kind of seamless integration with assets. So thank you.
You're welcome.
So,
take it away, guys.
Cheers. So, Quincy, what I'm interested to kind of see now is, a use case. Is there any particular thing that you can kind of show us where what you've done to kind of help a client and the challenges in producing all of this material and targeted material? Can you take us through an example?
Sure, Paul. We have a nice example from Kruidvat, which is a pharmacist in Holland, but also in Belgium and France. They have over 1,300 stores, and they operate online as well as offline. And what we've done there is connected all their data assets and put it into scalable workflows. And for every campaign, that results in 8 different channels, which is in-store print materials, as well as leaflets, but also social bannering, narrowcasting, out-of-home. Any marketing material produced of a campaign runs through Relayter. There are more than 300 people involved within our platform, also across different departments. And I think it's nice to run by the process step by step. So the first step is where the trading department defines the promotions. They run over more than 500 promotions weekly. And in this case, we integrate with a promotion management tool. So we take their data, push it into Relayter, and there the process goes on. In the second step, their commercial planning department builds the leaflet structure. They have multiple leaflets. They do print as well as digital ones, but also optimized for mobile. Um, the workflow here is we start with the basic print leaflet. We do this because it's the most extensive one and it covers all promotions being run. We have two ways of doing this, as Ryan showed us. So they can do this manually, which they do for the print versions, to be able to adjust the layouts to their needs in a creative sense. But for example, for mobile first versions, it gets filled fully automatically. That could also be based on, for example, trending data. And after this commercial planning department has done their part, we move on to the design and review steps. This is the place where the design studio, and Kruidvat move back and forth before designing and reviewing, where all departments have their own roles in the workflow. This means that trading can only adjust things as pricing or promotional corrections, where, for example, marketing will only give creative feedback. After the back and forth of the version has been done, we take that fully designed leaflet and we take all the creative input and then we replace that with French, or could be even Chinese language. So we take all the promotion panels, the design elements, and we translate that from the Dutch version into a French version. And during all those review processes, all the changes in data get pushed back into the briefing. That means when we finish the first leaflet, the data is up to date, and we can then generate the mobile first magazines fully automated. So there's no manual process involved there anymore.
Cool, thank you very much. Can you give us a kind of a bit of insight as to the savings that they were able to make, either time or cost, in kind of producing this material? And, for example, was there anything where you were an enabler? So, for example, the Mobile First magazine, were they then able to also include this within their workflow simply because of a Relayter?
Yeah, so before using Relayter, all these channels were produced apart from each other. So that meant there were 4 leaflets being produced. Now we narrowed it back to 1, and the data we then use to produce the other leaflets. So in terms of ROI, we brought down the design cost with 30 to 40% yearly. But what we mostly also see at retailers, they don't fully want to cut costs, but they want to make more with the same amount of investment.
Cool. I mean, and it's always something I like to do. Is what can you do with the same number of people, but is there more quicker things that you can do? Cool. That's a really good example. So, is there anything kind of finally hand off before we kind of bring Magdalena back onto the stage?
Hello, and thank you for the integration demo and presentations and this pretty clear use case of a joint customer. I would like to move us through the Q&A part of this webinar. And I was just looking at the chat function of our platform here and looking into the questions from the speakers. We have a couple. So I would read the first one. Suvi is asking, what happens to the content once it is reviewed and approved? How is it published? Especially interested in the social media content.
Should I hop into that, Quincy?
Yeah, sure.
It depends on what type of material it is, obviously. If, let's say, for example, you have a leaflet, it goes, normally they take all the files and they export it in a specific way with their own print profile and color profile, and they put it through, let's say, for example, a printing platform. So that's more of like the general print. And for your question about social media, a lot of clients, they have their own specific platform for their social media, and they can either export the video into the specific needs they have. So it's either an MP4, MOV. We can set all sorts of export setups for that. And depending on the client, they normally they just download the file and they push it somewhere. Or maybe if we go really big, or they have a really good platform to integrate with, we can actually make an integration, and then the files get exported or sent automatically to that specific platform. It really depends on the client or how your setup wants to look like.
Well, I hope this gives enough context to the person that asked the question. And of course, they can always reach out to you afterwards to get more, well, a bit more customized demos if they have a specific use case in mind. Does Relayer have any built-in integrations with digital channels? That's a question from Jeff.
We do integrate with different channels. So as well as WoodWing, we're fully API based. So we can hook up to almost any system. Some examples we've done for clients is, for example, exporting to websites, but also, for example, narrowcasting screens, which are directly pushed into their systems, which play live. So we could look up to all types of different digital channels.
Perfect. Does Relater integrate with any other dams?
I think the API covers that as well. So.
Of course, yes. Looking into other questions, there's one. How long does the integration takes to implement?
That's a bit dependent on the setup as well as what's already available there. So if you have all your product and asset management already in place, and it's a bit easier for us to hook onto. But normally we say 3 to 6 months to really be live. And what we mostly do is start small and then try to accelerate while we're live.
Yeah, so you start with one channel and from there you build. Because as soon as you have your data and you have one channel, you can take that same data, you can use it for a different channel. So you can scale from there.
Okay, I am currently providing the joint integration brochure as a download piece to all our attendees here. So feel free to download the brochure where you can find out more about how this integration functions. Looking again into our chats, I don't think there's anything left. There's a lot of thumbs up. So thank you, of course, for joining us today and for following this live session. Oh, there is one last question, I hope or believe. A question from Tony. What would you say are the main selling points of Relater compared to CMP platforms such as Banner Now, Banner Flow, and Zoovy?
I think Relayter really works scale. So we can scale up, for example, as well as assets. We put 200,000 of content items there. So it's really built to be scalable within retail, as well like real omni-channel, where we see some of our competitors focus fully on online bannering, for example. We cover print to animated content to social to static. So,
well, those are quite interesting selling points and differentiators for Relater. I hope that managed to answer Tony's question. So as I was saying, thankful to all the speakers today that joined us live, Quincy, Ryan, and Paul. I hope this session was insightful and our attendees understood better how the two systems integrate and how Relator uses the source of digital assets to automate that whole content production and output to multiple channels. Again, a reminder to all of our registrants and attendees that they will be able to receive the recording of this webinar. And yes, in case they missed any of the parts or want to replay the integration once again. Gentlemen, thank you. I wish you all a good day or a good evening, and I hope to see you in the next webinar where we'll discuss maybe also one of our customers can join us live and they can discuss and speak about the benefits of this joint integration between WoodWing and Relayter. Thank you very much once again, and yes, see you next time.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you later.
Goodbye, guys.